Welcome to another episode of East Meets West. And today I have a special guest. She's my friend, my sister, and she'll be sharing about her journey in leading herself, her team, her organization, and she being someone I would say like-minded. And I'm sure you're gonna add or have a lot of value from her tips and areas that maybe you can take some pointers to work on your leadership style, your leadership skills, and your team and your organization that you're running. So, she's a faith based development practitioner who challenges individuals and communities to high performance and self actualization. She is a reverend, and she advocates for transforming minds and lives for future generations by promoting a growth mindset and value based culture. And this is what I said, she's like minded. These are some of my goals as she also worked from it from different countries. And she's intentionally solution driven coach, and I would say she is really awesome in what she does. So some people call her Reverend Moore. I know she's my good friend, and I usually call her Andella, but today I might need to call her Reverend Moore. And she's also a John Maxwell coach. She has served in the youth and the leadership development within the Methodist Church in Guyana, the British Virgin Islands, Cuba, Aruba, Jamaica. And now she's in Belize and Honduras working there. So she has also served at national and regional organizations for development. She holds an academic degree from the University of Sheffield, University of Ghana, University of the West Indies, and as I said, she's also my sister from the John Maxwell team too. And I look forward to hearing and as we discuss about her walk and her leadership style. So please welcome Reverend Andella Moore, my sister.
Hey, hello. Good morning. Good afternoon, where you are. It is certainly my pleasure to join this day and this exciting thing that is happening at East Meets West. So, Shanti, thank you so much for your invitation to share. And it is true that I hope that as I share with you, I add value to you, that you might be able to add value to your team. So, God's blessings, and I say, let's go.
Yes. So thank you, Andela, and I really appreciate you giving me some of your time. I know you have a really packed schedule, and I'm sure because we like-minded people like to add value to others, and so I do appreciate that today you get to add some value to others who might be listening to this program and might be listening afterwards, and share any questions too that you may have for Andela, and we're going to answer it even if not here. I'll bring her on back on the next program, but share your message or your question, comments or so for Andela in the thread, and she's going to respond to you, so no problem there. So Andela, we're talking today about the law of design, and John Maxwell, our both of us are one of our idol, John Maxwell, and our coach and leadership guru, development, every aspect for both of us. It's how John has impacted our life, and he talked about the law of design in the 15 invaluable laws of growth, and he says to maximize growth, develop strategies. But and then I am just, I love hearing how people learn to lead themselves before you actually, I do believe we are leaders and we lead in different areas, but starting with ourselves is what he says is the one of the greatest challenges to lead our own selves. And so I would really love to hear how you have learned to lead yourself, and what was that like for you?
Okay, thanks. That's quite an interesting question, and it is true that we are leading ourselves is the greatest challenge. How do we come to know that there is even value in leading ourselves? Because the quality with which we lead ourselves is an indicator of the quality with which we will lead others. The love we lead ourselves in, the patience we lead ourselves in, the anticipations we have as we lead ourselves gives us an opportunity, and those who are looking at us leading ourselves, to see what undergirds us becoming who we desire to become. So how do I lead myself as an individual? First thing, I must be aware of who I am, what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, what my interests are, what opportunities are available for me to grow, to my aspirations. So in some ways it becomes taking stock of yourself, because of course we must know ourselves to grow ourselves. We take stock of what we are, what we have, and who we desire to be. Additionally, for us, we have we make visioning a big deal. So how do I see myself? Where do I see myself in another 10 years, in another 20 years? What do I want to be known for during my life and after my lifetime? What does that mean for me? And how will I ensure that I put the systems in place? How will I ensure that I strategize in the right way to become that person, to accomplish that thing, to be the influence that I desire to be in my home, in my community, in the places where I serve? So perhaps that's the first thing you want to be mindful of as we consider leading myself, and how valuable taking stock of those things are in order to move forward. And then perhaps secondly is being able to put yourselves in the place under the guidance, under another kind of leadership that will help you along the journey, so that because I am learning some things, I can't easily lead myself in them. I would need to be led by someone else. So I can get a coach, I can get a spiritual director, I can get an accountability partner to help me stay accountable to the decisions I've made about leading myself, about being consistent, about being true to who I am, about taking the action steps in spite of the fears that I might come into, in light of where I want to be. So that the second part of leading myself, perhaps, would be what I would want to share with the audience today, would be being able to make a choice of who we will include as someone we remain accountable to, in order that we stay true to that desire we have of leading ourselves in the way that would be most valuable to who we are and what we bring to any space that we are a part of. And then, thirdly, I would want to say that because you know, we are growing, we are organic beings, then you continue to evaluate your progress, evaluate where you are, where you desire to be, and how far you have made steps into becoming who you are. So you design this thing, and one of the things we want to remember is that your life is your life, and you live your life by design or by default. So if you know all of these things and you don't deliberately set plans in place and act upon those plans, then you just live going with the flow, and then you live with regrets. So for me, I don't want to live with certain kinds of regrets,
Like
but I
what?
want to ensure that at the end of my days, I can resign. I could say I have done what I've come on earth to do, as far as I perceive God, my maker, my creator, would have wanted. So I need to ensure that I take responsibility for that and manage myself well first before I am able to lead the people who God has given me to lead.
So, Andella, I like the part that, know, our life, we could live it by design or by default. And that's interesting how you've put it over. And I do see that many people actually choose default. That, if something to be, it to be,
Mhm.
instead of say, what, I have control over what I would like to do here, and I will take control over it.
Mhm.
But if you're to give me one example of maybe something that was hardest for you as developing your leadership skills or developing you, what would you say was one of the most challenging thing that you had for
I
yourself?
I think perhaps the most challenging thing for me was being patient with myself. Um, I knew that I had gifts. I knew that I had a calling. I'm a very talented person, excellent skill sets. And, I mean, all of that was true. But being patient with the process of growing and becoming was my greatest challenge because I knew everything I could do, I knew everything I wanted to become. But that is a journey in itself, and the journey itself is a gift when you would appreciate the paces God would take you through, when you would appreciate what changes are being made internally, what internal transformation is taking place in order to get you, because ultimately it's not about the goal, which is what I would have started my journey thinking about. It's not about the goal that I can get to a goal of being a leader. I mean, unfortunately, some of us have that mindset and we start with it. But when we have opportunities to learn how to do it differently and appreciate that this is about growing into who you desire to be, and there are steps to that, there are phases to that, then you can be patient with yourself, embracing every season as a seed and a stepping stone to the next that takes you higher, that takes you into where you desire to be, and really just uh, allows you to evolve with a groundedness that is necessary for leadership, allows you to evolve with a greater sense of who you are, allows you to evolve with a sense of what you are for, underscoring your values. We talk about being, values liked, values based, values minded. And so the journey, the process is about building your capacity as an individual, as a person, that will allow you to stand more firmly when you get into leadership. When you get into places of leadership where your values are most necessary, because that's what you communicate. You make decisions based on values. You live your life based on values. You lead based on the values. You create change based on the values you have. And so that's important, that's critical. So for me, it was the patience, being patient with myself as I embarked upon the journey of leading me to where I am now, and of course going beyond this, because we never stop growing.
And then I'm smiling because I thought of myself in the word patience. I used to think that, I really have a lot of patience. I can do a lot of things, and, I am very patient in doing it. And then came along having to lead others. And so my pace is very fast. And when people can't keep up with me, I had such a hard time slowing down and waiting for them. And as leaders, it's how do you be flexible and allow people to catch up with you. And so for me, sometimes I want things done like since yesterday. And so sometimes people have a hard time working with me because they can't get it done as fast. And like for me, I think one of my triggers is seeing people move very slow. And so and so I have to pray a lot and ask Lord, give me more patience.
Yeah.
And but indeed, all of us have something, and I thought of myself in the patient side of it, and I know many others too. That is something many people struggle with in developing patience, especially as a leader, and you're working along with others. How can you be patient? And I like the part that you talk about patient with
with
yourself.
yourself.
That there is a eye opener there. That how do you be patient with yourself? Because like for me, as I said, I want to do things and do it really fast, and
Mhm.
then when I can't get it done as fast as I would like it, I get anxious.
Yeah.
And and some anxiety starts stepping in, and it's like, oh, time is running out.
Mm,
I have
mm,
a time phobia thing.
mm, mm. I
That
think part of the, I'm sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
I think part of the struggle that many of us have is really being um, realistic in our expectations. So for many of us, we have acted a certain way. We have been guided by a certain paradigm. We have been programmed a certain way for so long that when we make the decision to apply the principles we want to apply to growing and self mastery and leading ourselves, that we don't always, remember or recognize that it's an entire process of deprogramming that is necessary, and in a similar way, like we deprogram computer systems and, all of that and stuff, we debug the system. All of that is necessary for us, but the computer is a machine. We are not of that nature, we are softer. And so it takes quite a bit longer, but what is key is consistency. And what is important for us is that we keep the bigger picture in mind, that doing this, committing myself to this, submitting myself to this process will get me to where I want to get in order to advance my dream, in order to advance my team, because I am a part of my team, and as I grow, my team grows. And
Yep.
that's the reasoning you want to ensure you have. That's how you want to talk to yourself, in order to get to that place of embracing the journey and being patient, with you. And perhaps, we find various methodologies to use based on who we are. We talk about our personalities, and we, in the Maxwell team, use the DISC personality assessment. We get to appreciate how we can tweak behaviors and how we can communicate better with ourselves as individuals based on our personality types. And that's important. So when we know those things about ourselves, it makes it a little easier for us to apply the learning and to journey in the patience that is necessary to get to where we are, and to ask people to come on board with us too as we do.
Yep. As you're speaking, I have a turtle. Maybe you could see this little turtle on my desk. And it says here, enjoy the journey. So it's a
Mm,
reminder for me that, it's a journey and to enjoy. This is the process to get there. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
enjoying it. But indeed, Andella, great insights that you've shared there. I'm sure, everyone can relate to what you're speaking about here because we all go through this sometimes, and it's how do we deal with it? How do we come out on the other end about this here? But you talk about values, and we know, as you have mentioned, that our values pops up when we have to make a decision, and based on those values, we choose. What would you say is your one of your top values? I usually say no compromise values. What would that one of that be for you?
One of that would be, well, my value is honesty. All right. And honesty is the only policy for me. Honesty is significant. Honesty leads, of course, to being open with yourself, to examining the truths concerning you, the real reality of what you are experiencing or who you are, what you desire, how you communicate with people, how you are able to be honest with them about particular things relating to their lives, so as to help them to go beyond where they are. I believe for me as an individual, I value that because it offers a freedom that is most critical to us growing. When we grow building upon truth. Anything that's built on lies crumble. It just falls to pieces. And I don't want my life to be falling to pieces because I've built it up on lies. It's not solid ground. So the more honest you are with yourself, the more you're able to build on truth, and not even facts, but the more you're able to build on truth concerning you, concerning who you are, concerning what you're able to do, concerning who you're able to become. And you get to build that. You get to build, in some ways, your own dynasty, as it were, because you choose honesty every time, for you and for those who are a part of your life in any given sphere.
Awesome. I would expect being a reverend, that might have been one of your top one. It was either that or integrity and thinking what you
Integrity,
just said.
integrity, certainly, certainly.
Yeah.
Because honesty is a part of being integrous. It is a part of being integrous, that you're true to yourself. You're true to yourself based on your principles, and they're all really just wrapped up in one. While you may find reason, perhaps conveniently, or as it necessitates, to separate them, they really are wrapped up in one. I'm not sure you can easily tear them apart satisfactorily.
That is true. So tell us about how you lead your team. And we're talking about the log design, how you design the team and lead the team.
Well, for me, in my context, I don't get to design my team from the very beginning. I come in after years of people who have led, other leaders who have led my congregation. And so I serve an awesome congregation in Belize, St. Luke Methodist Church in Belize City.
Mhm.
And we just celebrated our 57th year of being in service and mission to our community. And this is my fifth year of being their leader. So, how do we design? How do I, as their leader, their trusted leader, help to design a community of leaders we desire to see? That's important for us because we have an appreciation that the church ought to raise a certain standard. The church ought to raise a certain standard, and we need necessarily to design where we are going. What is it we want to be known for? How do we begin to accomplish that as a people in service to God? And we consider the big picture. I always ask, what do we ultimately want to be known for as a congregation? And we have lots of responses as it relates to that. But ultimately, what I discerned and we were able to agree upon is that we wanted to be known for adding value and for restoring dignity to lives, adding value and restoring dignity to lives. And once that becomes the bigger picture that we focus on, we know what becomes our priority. So we consider the bigger picture and be able to put systems in place that will lead us to ultimately being known for adding value and restoring dignity. What do we make our priorities therefore as we see this bigger picture? The priority of education, the priority of families, the priority of housing restoration. Those would be our three main areas of focus. So that would be our priority. And the tendency is that as a congregation grows larger, or perhaps as an organization grows larger, you want to ensure that you keep the bigger picture. Otherwise, you might want to answer to every question to veer off. And certainly we know that there are some things that come generally with being a congregation and a faith-based organization, but we always have to keep the bigger picture in mind and then make use of the priorities. What are our priorities? Education, family life, and housing restoration. How do we do that? We ensure that we have good measures of our outcome. So, like any other experience of getting to where we want to get, we set goals. We are able to set, indicators that help us to measure how far along the path we are going. Annual goals, quarterly goals, certainly. And then we get an opportunity to see how we apply the changes that are necessary, how we get into action, the changes that are necessary to make this thing more of what we want to make it, as we continually monitor and evaluate what we are doing, how we are doing. So what has become really big for us is feeding into our leadership, into the team of leaders, feeding into our leadership. And we, because we have a sense of where we want to go, we know, well, not it's just merely a sense, but we know definitely where we want to go and what we want to be known for in our community. There are certain factors that are built into our system and are built into my leadership as their senior pastor, and that includes, and I'm going to share with you from something I've learned over time, and it is further established by an author called Henderson, who talks about how we design a for culture, and this is what I have been, internalizing and certainly practicing applying to my own experience as a leader. So one of the things we do, and I do as a leader, is to believe abundantly in my people. All right. I believe abundantly in them. I let them know that we can do this. I believe in you. We have what it takes. And when we don't have it, God provides it for us. I believe abundantly in what we are doing and who you are. And I say that to my people. Ultimately, you get to hear them say to the people they lead, I believe in you. I believe, I can help you move closer to your potential. I believe that as I give to you, we can get to the place of transforming our world that, is significant, an experience that will help to raise our profile, but beyond raising our profile, before raising our profile, to raise the profile of the lives that are lived in the community, and to help us, to help the world to be seen. Sorry, to help the world to see what we are known for. So we believe abundantly, and it is instilled by design. Like you would believe in your child and say you believe in your child. Tell your child. It sparks innovation in, in more ways than other ways. It allows you to internalize and to really challenge what our expectations of ourselves is, as opposed to what my expectations of the team are. So, what do you expect of yourself as an individual on this team? What do we expect of ourselves? And so we get to challenge each other on that when we, see ourselves falling short. So we believe abundantly. And then one of the other things we want to do is appreciate consistently. All right, and Shanti, you can stop me. I have five of them, so I'm gonna run through them quickly. All right,
You go right
appreciate
ahead. You're adding
consistently.
value to all of us. So
Okay, wonderful. No, we appreciate consistently. We must have a culture of deep appreciation, genuine and active gratitude for our team. So perhaps one of the things you can do is send handwritten notes to your team. I know with, the whole thing about having a smartphone, we can send a voice note, or we can send a WhatsApp or whatever message electronically. But guess what? Handwritten notes still make a whole lot of difference, and we have to want to so appreciate our team that they get to see how much we value them. All right. When they get to see us taking time to write handwritten notes, we are saying to them, you know, what the message they receive is that this is exceeding my expectation. And people love to know that they are of so much value, that they bring so much value to your team and your organization, that you as the leader can exceed their expectation. When we take time to write handwritten notes, we are saying that we are serious about our mission. We're serious about how we are adding value to you so that you can add value to others. And guess what? It could be a secret that will help to turn our team around and bring more favorable responses to us. So we develop a system. How do we start, thinking or getting to write notes that are of value to the team? We develop a system that delivers stories. You begin to observe people operating. You begin to see how they do what they do, and then you find that, oh, this is an area I would want to keep encouraging this person in, or this was an attitude they exhibited that it is supportive of our organizational culture, and I want to highlight that. And you develop a system that delivers the stories, that you can see it and seize the moment to write those notes to them. How?
Andella, I'm gonna pause you a minute there. As I think of appreciation, and maybe you could help leaders like me to, I had to learn that appreciating the team, for me, it is that you had to do something really grand for if it to speak volume for me. And I would say, yes,
Mm,
you are amazing. You went above and beyond here. So it had to be something really big for me. But I had to learn that look for the small things in people and appreciate them.
that's
And
correct.
so, how or what would you say to people like me, other leaders like me, to how do you appreciate and not to fall in the trap that it needs to be something big?
Grand. I think knowing your team and having had the conversations with them, perhaps you get to learn what are the areas they desire to grow in. And so you know that this person wants to grow in being punctual, that particular area. They want to be punctual, or they want to respond and not react. All right. Or they want to be braver. So they want to learn to speak, and they want to challenge their fear of public speaking. Let's just say any one of those. Then whenever you see that person making an effort, all right. And you may have seen them, observe them over a period of time. So you get to see that they are deliberate in taking opportunities to speak, to face the crowd. They no longer shy away. Or you see them making the efforts. They would have come 4 or 5 times to church earlier than usual. You see them making the effort in the area of their own growth that will add to their development as well as the organizational culture. That makes a difference, because as leaders we should be in such relationship with those we lead that we know what their areas of growth are, and we know the value they place on it because of where they want to go and advance. So when we know that, we get to observe how they are consistently pursuing that goal or that journey of growth, and we get to applaud their efforts, and consistently appreciate them for what they bring to the team.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. I like that you look at what the growth areas that they want. So that's a good strategy to start with.
Yes,
I'm
certainly.
hoping that everyone is taking notes. So
Yeah,
continue, and then
that's
I know you said you had 5 areas that.
that's helpful for us, right? So we want to appreciate consistently, and then of course we want to develop intentionally. We want to develop. Every thriving organization develops their team. And you can develop your team within the system you have, perhaps using meetings, or you can choose to develop your team using things like retreats and training, workshops, those kind of things. But you can develop your team using meetings so that when you get into meetings, it's not just about the projects that are being done. It's not quote unquote strictly business. But in order to develop intentionally from this perspective, is that you want to develop thought leadership. All right. You ask the question, how can we see and shape the future? So, as a leader, I introduce new challenging insights. I use perhaps data, trending data in the culture in which we work, the organizations in which we serve. The system in which we serve, and you perhaps introduce some kind of, some analysis, some feature in your meetings that you can discuss and help people to bring their thought process to bear on the discussion, in the discussion on this particular matter. So you develop the thought process, because we want intelligent leaders. We want leaders who will be able to guide a certain this discussion with a certain intelligence, and that kind of thing. But then you also want to develop um, people leadership. You ask the question, are you growing, are we growing as an individual and as an organization? So we ask things about the culture of the organization, what it feels like to be on the team, and you discuss matters relating to staff and how we can invest more in the staff. And certainly there is the matter of project leadership, where we get to know how to be more effective and efficient at the same time, where we list the things that we need to do, but really simple wins. And if we get better at structuring our meetings to add value, to develop intentionally, then the meetings will make the organizations better. Then the next thing I want to share with us, that Henderson shares, of course, is that we should listen actively. Listen actively, in order to fully get to where we want to get, in order to make the impact in our communities we want to make. We must listen to our communities. We listen to our staff, those who are on our team. Are the a tangible advantage of creating a for culture, um, as we listen, ensures that innovation is increased. So we listen, we do listening tours, we ask deeper questions, we ask more searching questions, and then we, of course, can have something that is referred to as an innovation pipeline, where as many as you receive, you many suggestions for growth and development, and how we can develop ourselves for what we desire to be known for in our community. You put those in a bank, and then you're able to assess them, and glean from that process how you can further be of significance to the community you serve and you lead. And then the final one is live repeatedly. Live repeatedly. We must know our vision. Whatever is that vision, we consistently say it. We say it, we give people to give reason to remember it. We position it where people can see in the organization. We emphasize it. We spell it out, whatever it is we need to continue to live our vision. We have it in conversations. What are we known for? We are known for adding value and restoring dignity. What does this mean? All right. And we live that repeatedly. So we ensure that our mission is known and repeated constantly. We ensure that our vision is known and repeated constantly. We ensure that as a leader, I am living that out personally, and so that everybody else in the team is living out those values as it relates to the organization repeatedly. And when we live repeatedly, it elevates the team and continues to breathe life and encouragement into the culture of the organization we serve. And I think perhaps more importantly, we keep the main thing. And that's important for us, because we just don't want to be here, there, and everywhere. We want to be focused. We want to be precise. We want to have um, laser focus as it is, that will provide the opportunities for the people we lead and work with to experience the transformation that is necessary, and to ensure that we do what we set out to do, adding value to those we lead so that they can add value to those, can multiply value to those in their community and the other parts of their spheres of influence. So what we do: believe abundantly, appreciate consistently, develop intentionally, live repeatedly, so that we continue to strive for the higher. And that's for us as far as it goes for developing, and designing a culture that is for what we believe we are called to do in our community. So that's what I wanted to share with you today.
Awesome points. And indeed, one of for me, I would say is the number one is to believe abundantly. And I think people with abundant mindsets are people who actually, would understand this here. And the people who have scarcity mindset, on the other hand, are people who would not want to be investing in their team,
Mm,
show appreciation and all the necessary thing to build a strong team. And it's sometimes I think many of the leaders forgot that it is the team who looks after the organization, or in the case of a business, it's the team who looks after the people that
mhm.
you're serving,
The
and
server, right?
you need to serve your team so that they could be able to serve. And
That's
I
correct.
remember, I think it's the same author. He said that I can walk in your organization or your business, and I could tell you, how well
I
your
know
team,
how you treat your team.
because
Yes.
the way you treat them, that's how it will be transferred onto your customers, and
Customers, right? Those
and
who
the
come
people
in.
you're serving. And so,
That's correct.
indeed, and that was also eye opening what he said there. And so it's a lesson. Maybe it's a yardstick to look at that. My team is the one who really reflects me as a
That's
leader,
correct.
and
That's
what
correct.
they do, it's reflecting the organization. And it just triggers down in that aspect. And so, indeed, working on the team, and the team represents the organization. And I'm sure, with the organization would have its own rippling effects in their
Effects.
goals and all of that, what would have set out what you want to be known for, right? Is that those are the goals that you said you want to be known for, and these are the things we want to do and we want to accomplish. And so when you talk about, leading the team, that is how this gets also affected back into the organization, where they also get to be part of and building it. And so, what are your thoughts on the organization side of it?
Well, it really is transferable, and it is true that when you treat your team well, when you affirm your team, when you appreciate your team, when you live actively the vision and the mission that you have set out to, you get to create such a culture, a way the organization thinks, what the values they embrace, and how they act. When you do that, it becomes a comprehensive package altogether that cannot be hid, and the values will be evident. The value to the individual will be evident, the value to the organization will be evident. But more than anything else, the value to those we serve will be evident. And it is important for us to really go back, some of us, to the bigger picture as to why we exist. Because really, some of us exist for ourselves first before we exist for those we serve. If indeed we choose to exist to solve a problem or to be an answer to a problem in our community, then the community will always come first. The community will always be first as we think, as we strategize, as we make changes. How will this affect our community first? And if we are sold on that principle, then it becomes a little easier for people to align with our values. So if you're recruiting someone, you ask, why do you want to be a part of this organization? Then perhaps one of the first things they may say is that you have a value for the people you serve, you
Yep.
know. And ultimately you design the quality and the kind of organization you have by those who are attracted to you, attracted to the vision that is bigger than themselves, something that is bigger than one individual, and so you get to live more more intentional as an organization about, and be about your business, be about your mission and vision.
So indeed, and it's vision. I think in every single book I've read, or authors or speakers, everyone talk about vision and how it's important that the leader transfer, that vision, run with the vision, recruit, I would say, people for that vision. And it's so much the leader's responsibility to bring that vision and show where they're heading and how they're going to get there. As a team together, you can develop that. But indeed, we must know what we are for. I really like that in that book, that if we don't understand, what we are for, we might be doing a lot of things that we are not for. So it's good to have that clarity to know.
Mhm, mhm.
And so, Andella, before we close off the program, what are your closing remarks and any areas that you might have wanted to just touch back on leadership or so?
Perhaps, just really reminding our, listeners that leadership is not an event. We don't come upon leadership as an event, and we should therefore see leadership as a journey, as a process for which we are built in in every place of our lives, beginning with how we think, um, how we are open to change, to being true to ourselves, how we desire to act, to influence, because leadership is influence, and we learn influence from a young age. We learn influence as children, we learn influence as youth and young adults, and we certainly learn influence when we become a part of organizations. And so we can value the journey to being of the greatest influence we possibly can be by starting to influence our own lives, how we think, how we speak, how we anticipate and expect, how we transfer uh, values to those we live among in order to advance the cause that God has for us. So our paths will take us in different direction, but ultimately we want to be of such value of such a value adding nature that life around us changes, people around us get transformed, and the culture in which we live experiences a shift, a change, that will allow those we live and serve among to experience a greater quality of life, that we could be, continually adding value and making the changes that are necessary, making the changes we want to see, being the changes we want to see, in order that we will positively influence and impact our community. So I think ultimately that's what I would want to remind us of as we make choices to intentionally grow ourselves and grow our team, because that's what matters at the end of the day.
Awesome. So, indeed, in my research, I've been reading about Robert Greenleaf, and he talked about servant leadership, and I I keep evaluating, and I think all leaders can look at that. Is that, ask yourself, are your people getting better? Are they better than when you took them over per se. And so are they growing? Are they more healthier? Are they, every aspect of their lives, are they better than where they were before? And or at least you're not making them worse.
Worse.
Yeah.
Well, you really don't want to settle for at least you're not making them worse. The intention should be to so add value to them that they really are, because that becomes part of the indicator that you are getting to where you aspire to get to as a team, as an
Definitely.
organization.
So yes, indeed, some leaders do leave it worse, by the way. And so, as a good leader, you want to use that as a yardstick, maybe to my people, are they getting better? Are they growing in all aspect of their lives? And so you will also know where your leadership skills are falling there. When you look back and see, yes, I was able to take them from here to there, obviously with their help because they're doing all the work. But I'm saying with your leadership, with your influence, with your inspiration, how you were able to, influence them to a next level. So
Level.
indeed, Andella, it's lots of takeaway from your session, and what you shared about yourself and from your organization too. And it's really good to hear it. I know you're all the way in Belize, and you're what two? I'm 2 hours ahead of you, right? Is
Yes,
it?
you are.
Yeah. And so thank you so much for making the time out today and to share. And we do look forward to actually you coming back and give us your nuggets that we can all apply to our lives and even make our leadership wherever we're planted to even be more influential, and that we could also grow as leaders. So I do believe that we can learn from each other, and that's what I would like to give different perspectives of something that we can learn from each other. And as we learn, you might not be open to that. Oh, I didn't think of that way. And it's good that we can get to learn from each other. And I think that's what we are supposed to be learning. I would change it also in serving each other.
Yeah, yes,
Because
certainly.
that's how we can serve each other.
Yeah,
So indeed.
agree.
So thank you so much, Andella. And everyone, if you have any question, please do share. Until next week, have a wonderful week.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you. God bless you all.